The story you're about to hear rocks the royal family to its core. For years, people have been quietly talking about Meghan Markle and Prince Harry's kids. But now, those quiet conversations have turned into serious questions. Questions backed by paperwork, numbers, and official documents that just don't match up. At the middle of all this drama is Princess Lilibet Diana, announced to the world as Harry and Meghan's daughter. Born in California in June of 2021, she was welcomed with news stories, pictures, and parties. But under the shiny surface, something feels off. The documents point to a birth code that doesn't match California. Official records say no file exists. And the doctor who supposedly delivered her. She closed her practice just days later. Peace be peace, the story looks less like a fairy tale birth and more like a carefully hidden secret. And now, first time, the idea is being discussed. Was Lilibet actually adopted? If so, that news would mess up the lineage of royal succession big time. And Meghan Markle could find herself at the center of the biggest royal drama in decades. This is the story of how Lilibet's adoption may have just been exposed. Let's break it down simply so anyone can understand. In the royal family, not just anybody can be in line for the throne. There are rules, 4 of them to be exact. First, the parents have to be a man and a woman. Easy enough. Harry and Meghan, they check that box. Second, they have to be legally married in the Church of England. Harry and Meghan had their bi-royal wedding, so check that. Third, the child has to be made naturally. That means no surrogates, no credit options. At least not if the baby is supposed to qualify for the crown. Fourth, and this one is really important, the baby has to be born from the body of mother. And the paperwork for that birth is to be crystal clear. The doctor's name, the hospital, the signatures. All of it has to be public and checked. Others, no question. Now, here's where throws go through the roof. Archie is sixth in line to the throne. Lilibet is 11th. That means, in theory, these two kids could one day be king or queen of England. We're not talking a tabloid gossip here. We're talking a booth documents that decide the future of monarchy itself. So, let's go back to the version of events the world was given. On June 4, 2021, Meghan Markle and Prince Harry announced that Meghan had given birth to a healthy baby girl. Santa Barbara Cottage Hospital in California. They named her Lilibet Diana Mountbatten Windsor. Lilibet after Queen Elizabeth's childhood nickname and Diana after Harry's mother. The announcement was celebrated all over the world. A photo was released of the baby smiling in the grass. Everything seemed picture-perfect. Around that time, newspapers published what looked like Lilibet's California birth certificate. It had all the basics, name, date, location, and even Harry's title, that seemed to settle it. But not long after, people with sharp eyes noticed something weird. Details on the certificate didn't line up with what California law allows. And some of the codes printed on it pointed somewhere completely different. And then came an even bigger twist. The doctor connected to the story, Dr. Melissa Drake, suddenly shut down her practice not long after Lilibet's birth. In her message to patients, she said she needed to focus on her own health and her family. That could be innocent, of course. But for people already questioning the paperwork, it raised an red flag. Especially since her husband runs a fertility clinic. Which in Lee made people whisper about other explanations for the birth. This is where the cracks in the official story began to show. What looked like a simple, happy announcement was suddenly carrying the weight of questions nobody could answer. So far, we've heard what we were told and why throes of succession make these details more than gossip. But the deeper we dig into the paperwork, the weirder it gets. And that's where this investigation bends. Now we get to the heart of the story, the documents. On the surface, Lilibet's birth certificate looked official. Name, date, Santa Barbara listed as the place of birth. But hidden inside the numbers, there's something that makes no sense. Every U.S. birth certificate has a string of numbers. Think of it like a secret code. Part of that code identifies the state where Thebabee was born. In California, that code is supposed to be 104, but on Lilibet certificate, the number printed was 105. And here's the bombshell. According to government charts, 105 doesn't belong to California at all. It belongs to Colorado. Let's pause here. If a birth certificate for a baby said born in Santa Barbara, but the state code appointed hundreds of miles away to Colorado, that's not just a typo. That's like printing a passport that says London, but coding it as Lisbon. It doesn't line up. This single number, the 105, is what sparked the biggest wave of doubt. Because if that number is correct, it means the certificate wasn't issued in California at all. And if it's wrong, why hasn't it ever been fixed? But the area code isn't the only problem. When the person in our source video filed a formal request with California's Vital Records Office, paying the fee and submitting all the details, they got a shocking reply. No record found. That's right. According to California's own system, there is no public record of a baby named Lilibet Diana Mountbatten Windsor being born on June 4, 2021. Instead of a birth certificate, the state issued what's called a certificate of no public record. Think about what that means. Newspapers could publish scanned images all day long. But when someone goes to's actual state database, there's nothing there. Zero, and there's one more weird thing. The birth certificate image published by outlets like the Daily Mail. TMZ didn't just list Harry's name as Henry Charles Albert David. Instead, it included his royal style, his royalness, Duke of Sussex. That might sound harmless. After all, that's who Hayes. But here's the problem. California law doesn't allow titles to show up on official paperwork. Birth certificates have to use legal names only, which means that if a copy floating in Thebris shows a title, it's either being changed or it's not a true official document at all. So by this point, we have three major problems. 1. A state code pointing to Colorado, not California. 2. An official system that says no record exists. 3 titles printed on a certificate where they aren't legally allowed. Each of this by itself would be strange together. They look like a puzzle begging for answers. Now, here's where Ath's investigation gets even more interesting. The person digging into this didn't just post theories online. They went step by step. First, they filed the email request and got the no record play. Then, they picked up the phone. The call lasted exactly 25 minutes and 45 seconds with the California Vital Records Office. On that call, according to their notes, a staff member confirmed that California's code is always 104, never 105. In other words, the mismatch wasn't just imagination. It was confirmed by the office itself. Next, the investigator went bigger. They wrote to the UK Parliament under the Freedom of Information Act asking them to confirm Archie's birthplace at Portland Hospital in London. Parliament's reply. They said they weren't a hospital and therefore couldn't confirm anything and pointed the investigator toward Buckingham Palace instead. But Heresque twist. The palace isn't subject to a fee at all, meaning dead end. So on one side, you have US officials saying no record found. On the other, you have UK officials bouncing the responsibility act to the palace. And right in the middle are 2 children, Archie and Lilibet, whose positions in the line of succession depend completely on documents that no one seems able or willing to verify. And remember, these aren't small details. These are the very records that decide who is a prince, who is a princess, and who one day could be King or Queen of England. Which brings us to the biggest question of all. If that paperwork is this messy, what does it actually mean? Now, let's zoom out for a second. Why does all this paperwork matter so much? Because under the laws of succession, there are 4 rules you can't break for any royal child to be officially included in line to the throne. 1. The parentage to be legally married. 2. That marriage has to be recognized by the Church of England. 3. The child has to be made naturally. 4. The child is to be delivered from the body of mother, verified by doctors and officially recorded. On paper, these rules may sound simple, but they are absolute. Every child before Archie and Lilibet had their births confirmed publicly, with signed notices from doctors displayed outside Buckingham Palace. That transparency existed for one reason: to eliminate any doubt. But for Harry and Meghan's children, none of that happened. No doctor signatures, no palace sign, no transparent record. Just announcements, photos, and documents filled with strange details. If even one of those 4 requirements was met or can't be proven, the whole foundation falls apart. You'd think that's with something this important. The institutions responsible would step in, but when Parliament was asked to verify details, they refused. Their answer? Parliament isn't a hospital, so it can't confirm births. Then they said to ask Buckingham Palace, but the palace isn't bound by freedom of information laws, which means brick wall. That leaves us with a bizarre picture. An ordinary citizen or even the press can ask, can search, can email, can phone. But when they hit the highest levels of government or monarchy, the trail goes cold. So here's the puzzle. Either these institutions don't have the records or they don't want the records seen. And if they don't want them seen, the question is why. Now we're left with 3 possible explanations. Option 1. Paperwork mistake. Maybe someone at office typed the wrong number. 104 versus 105, and no one ever fixed it. But if that's true, how could such a high-profile couple with the entire world watching allow such a sloppy mistake? Option 2. Surrogate or adoption. If Lilibet wasn't born directly from Meghan, then requirement 4 for succession isn't me. A surrogate birth or an adoption would explain the secrecy, the disappearing doctor, and the no record found notices. Option 3. Deliberate cover-up. If the palace and press both know the documents don't add up, but focus public attention on small distractions like Harry using His Royal Highness on a certificate that keeps the deperprobables out of sight. And here's the scary part. If any of these explanations are true, then Lilibet and even Archie should not legally be in the line of succession at all. Yet both children are officially listed Archie, Sussex, and Lilibet as 7th. So, where does this leave us? We have a birth certificate with a Colorado code, a state system that says no record found, a doctor who disappeared from practice days after the supposed birth, a palace that refuses to provide transparency, and laws that demand absolute certainty before placing Occult in the line to the throne. Individually, each piece might be explained away. Together, they tell a story that doesn't add up. And when thrakes are this high, the line to the British crown. Stories that don't add up matter. This isn't about gossip. This is about the integrity of the monarchy itself. The royal family's own rules demand proof, and that proof has never been shown. So here's the blunt truth. Until the problems are answered, until the records are verified, and until the public sees the same level of transparency shown for every other royal child, Archie and Lilibet's places in the line of succession remain under a shadow. And shadows, when ignored, don't disappear, they grow.